Welcome to Flash CS6 Tutorial 22, Display on Stage Content of Array. I'm going to start by opening a new FL8, ActionScript 3, and call this layer ActionScript AS. Click on that first frame, open the Actions panel, and type in this code. Type. Now, in previous tutorials, I showed you how to build an array, and this is basically how you build an array. You start off by calling it a variable, var, give it any name you want as long as it doesn't turn color, stays black. I'm calling mine my array, capital M, capital A, colon, array. This turns blue, equals, open square bracket, and I have a whole bunch of stuff in here, and then I have a closed square bracket and a semicolon. And inside here I have quotations A, quotations, comma, quotations B, quotations, comma, and I go right up to including quotations I, close quotation, and then my closed square bracket and my semicolon. That builds the array, and this will trace it in my output panel. Trace, TRACE, turns blue, open bracket, copy the name you give it, paste it in here, close bracket, semicolon, and let's just test that. And there it is, A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I. So I've done that in previous tutorials. Back to the Actions panel. Now, I don't want to display this in the output panel anymore, so I'll click in front of it, 2 forward slashes, couple enters, and type this code. Now we're going to this is going to allow us to display what's ever in that array. So display underscore txt. That's a text box that we're going to make in a few minutes. We haven't made it yet. Period. Auto size. Auto small a capital S. That determines the physical size of the elements as we display them in our text box. It automatically adjusts. Equals text field auto size. Capital T, capital F, capital A, capital S. That will all turn blue if it's spelt right. Period. And then there's left. Left is where it orientates from. And this left is all capital letters. Capital L-E-F-T, all capitals, semicolon. That sets up this display box. And here we're going to say display content. That's the name of a function we're going to make down here. Capital D, capital C. You can call this anything you want as long as it doesn't turn colors. Open bracket, my array, that's the name we gave to this, to array, period, length, L-E-N-G-T-H, small l turns blue if it's spelt right, close bracket, semicolon. So this is allowing me to display what's in this array, all the content of it. And we do this through a function, F-U-N-C-T-I-O-N, turns purple. Copy this name that you have here, paste it in. Open bracket, n. N is the number of elements we have up here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 elements. Colon, int as an integer, turns blue if it's spelt right. Close bracket, colon, void, V-O-I-D. Void is the same color as function. And there's the open curly bracket for the function. And as you start to type some stuff in, you might get this closed curly bracket. But when you finish, you should have this open curly bracket and this closed curly bracket. Now, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to use a for statement. So after this open curly bracket, type in for, F-O-R, turns purple, open bracket, a variable, I. I don't want my variable down here, so I'm going to change this. I'm going to go up here and type var, V-A-R, and I'm going to put in I, colon, capital NUM, and in this drop down menu, when you see the number, you can just click enter, equals 0, semicolon. So down here, now I'm down here with this VI. I don't need this. What I want is to remove this. After the 4, there's an open bracket, and here's the closed bracket for that open bracket, and there's 3 what's called arguments in here. That's what they call them. The first argument is the variable that I'm talking about, I, is going to be equal to, and you give it some value, and I've always used 0. I don't know why you'd want to start with something other than 0, but I'm sure there's reason. Then there's a semicolon, and this is the number of times we go through this for loop, which I'll explain in a minute. So I is less than n, and remember, n is a number of elements. In our case, it's 9. If we only had 5 elements here, n would be 5. So I less than n, another semicolon, I plus plus. This argument just says increment I by 1. So when I first come in here, the I is equal to 0. So it's definitely less than 9. So it does this. And it does it again. And it does it 9 times. Each time it does it, it adds 1 to the I. So eventually I will be greater than n, and it will stop doing what it's doing. So after this closed bracket, I have an open curly bracket. And assume you start typing this. This probably comes in for you. When you're finished, there should be 2 closed curly brackets. Now we're actually going to display the values of this array on the stage. So display underscore text, that's that text box we're going to make. We talked about it up here. Period. It's called append text. Small APPEND, capital TEXT turns blue. Open bracket, string, capital STRING. String just means it's a mixture of usually words and variables and things like that. So after string is another open bracket. Then my array, that's the name we gave this array way up here. Square bracket, open square bracket, I, close square bracket, close bracket. Now, this is what actually displays it, and each time we go through here, this I changes. So when I first go through it, I'm looking at this element. So I display the A. The second time, I is a 2. I jump to here, then a 3, and do this until I get all these letters out. So after this closed bracket is a plus sign and quotation, backslash, n, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon. And let's try this. Test movie test. And I have an error on line. Oh, I didn't make my text box yet, of course. So lock this layer. Come down here, insert a layer. I want my action script to be on top, so I click it, put it up there. Call this text, T-E-X-T. And I'm going to open that actions panel for a minute and copy this name, because I need this name right here, display underscore text. Copy that. Go back to this timeline, select this frame of the text box, and way up here in the corner somewhere, I'm going to end up making a text box. So come over to my tools, pick up my text tool right there, make a reasonable size box, open the properties panel, paste in that name you just copied, make sure classic text is selected here. Make sure dynamic text is selected here. I'm using Times New Roman. I'm using black as my color, and I'm going with 12 points. Now before you close this off, click here Embed, and this menu comes up. Click upper, lower, numerals, and punctuations. OK. And if things are right, we may have to put a couple zeros in here, but let's just see if we can do it without that. Test movie test. And there it is, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So that worked out pretty good. there's going to be a follow-up for this tutorial. It'll be called Flash CS6 Tutorial 23, Display Content of Array on Stage, Part 2. And the difference will be, in this tutorial, we filled the array here with these letters. On this follow-up Part 2, we're going to write action script to load in the numbers from 1 to 10, for example, and then have those numbers displayed on the stage. So instead of directly loading the array before we run our Swift, we'll have it that the array gets run when you actually run the program. Hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope you use what you learned.